What's up, YouTube NFL fans? Welcome in. We're here to get you ready for a massive NFC Championship showdown. Commanders versus the Eagles.
It's going to be a good one.
It is. This is the third time these two NFC East rivals are meeting this season.
That's right.
And, after the Eagles kind of blew them out in week one.
Yeah.
And then the Commanders surprised everyone getting that win with Hurts out. I mean,
big time.
This was going to be close.
Oh, no doubt about it. Super Bowl berth on the line, Intensity is going to be off the charts.
Absolutely. You know one thing that's really impressed me watching these teams in the playoffs?
Yeah.
They've both been so careful with the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, 0 turnovers from either team.
It's amazing.
I mean, it really feels like that old saying, defense wins championships, is proving itself out this year, doesn't it?
100%, especially in the playoffs. You can't afford to give your opponent any extra possessions. Every team that's won the turnover battle in the postseason this year has gone on to win the game.
True.
That tells you everything you need to know.
It really does. You think about how the Commanders have gotten here.
Yeah.
It's been that ball control offense, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And Daniels has been so efficient.
Oh, he's been great.
Getting them into scoring position on nearly 94% of their possessions.
That's an insane number.
It is insane, but the Eagles' defense.
Right.
I mean, they're good.
Oh, they're no joke.
And if they want to win this game, they got to force Daniels into making some mistakes.
Yep. They have to disrupt his rhythm, especially early. We all know how mobile he is. But if the Eagles can get pressure in his face, make him uncomfortable in the pocket, that could lead to some bad decisions.
Do you think we'll see them use a spy to try to contain him?
I wouldn't be surprised. That could be a big part of their game plan.
It's going to be interesting to watch. But as good as Daniels has been, the Eagles have their own weapon on offense, Saquon Barkley.
For sure.
I mean, he's been a beast all year.
He has been.
You got to think they're going to rely on him a lot in this one.
Yeah.
Especially considering Washington's run defense. I mean, they're ranked 30th in the league.
I mean, he could have a field day if they're not careful.
That is a matchup to watch closely.
It is, but I think the Commanders, they're going to be ready for that. They're not going to let him run wild. I bet they'll be stacking the box, doing everything they can to shut him down.
It's going to be fun to see how they approach that. But even if they do slow down Barkley.
Right.
I mean, special teams can't be overlooked, right?
Oh, absolutely.
McCaffrey's had some big returns against the Eagles in their last meeting.
That's right.
Could be a difference maker again,
Yeah.
Especially in a tight game like this, field position, those hidden yardage battles, they can really swing the momentum.
Couldn't agree more. Hidden yardage is huge in the playoffs. And let's not forget, the Commanders were one of the best first quarter teams in the league this season. So the Eagles need to weather that early storm and try to flip the script.
Yeah.
Getting an early lead.
Yeah.
Forcing Daniels to play catch up, I mean, that would be huge for them.
Absolutely. And speaking of playing catch up.
Yeah.
This is the NFC Championship, right? I mean, the pressure is enormous. Daniels, he's a rookie quarterback.
Right.
I mean, how do you think he handles that? The magnitude of this moment.
That's a great question. The Eagles have a lot more playoff experience. That could be a factor, but sometimes that underdog mentality, that nothing to lose attitude, it can actually work in your favor. I'm really curious to see how he responds to the pressure.
It's a great point. Sometimes that fearlessness, it can lead to some unexpected outcomes.
Oh, sure.
Going back to what you were saying about disrupting Daniels' rhythm.
Yeah.
Who on that Eagles defense do you think is most important for making that happen?
Well, for me, it all starts with their defensive line.
Okay.
Guys like Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, they need to get consistent pressure up the middle and off the edges, collapse the pocket, force Daniels to make quick decisions. If they can do that, it'll go a long way towards limiting his effectiveness.
That makes a lot of sense. And on the other side of the ball, the Commanders, they have to find a way to contain A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith.
Oh, they're a nightmare for any secondary.
They are.
Especially if Hurts has time to throw.
Especially if he has time.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Sanders still. I mean, they've played well in the playoffs.
They have.
But Brown and Smith are on another level.
They are. If they can limit those big plays downfield, it'll make the Eagles' offense much easier to manage. But that's a tall order.
Easier said than done, that's for sure. We've talked a lot about the players, the matchups.
Right.
But the coaching in this game, it's going to be huge, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Dan Quinn versus Nick Sirianni.
Yep.
Two offensive masterminds, but very different styles.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be the key to that chess match on the sidelines?
I think for Quinn, it's all about exploiting the Eagles' weaknesses, especially in the secondary. Try to get Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel in favorable matchups, create opportunities for them to make big plays. For Sirianni, I think it's about establishing the run early and often with Frank Barkley. That'll open up the play-action game for Hurts and allow them to control the tempo.
It's like both coaches have these very specific problems to solve, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to make adjustments on the fly.
For sure.
I'm really interested to see how the Eagles attack that Commanders' defensive front, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, they ran all over the Lions last week.
Over 180 yards on the ground.
But the Commanders' D-line, it's a different animal.
It is. And that's where Jalen Carter comes in. He's been a one-man wrecking crew in the playoffs. If he can disrupt the Commanders' run game, put pressure on Daniels, that could be a game changer for the Eagles.
And, the Commanders have their own disruptive force in Chase Young.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a battle of the Titans in the trenches. I think that matchup could decide the whole thing.
I agree. The battle in the trenches is always crucial. But in a game like this, with so much on the line, it becomes even more important. Whoever wins that battle will have a huge advantage.
And that's what makes this matchup so exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Strength against strength.
For sure.
A clash of styles. You've got this high-powered offense going up against a really stingy defense.
Yeah.
Two young quarterbacks who are both trying to make a statement.
Yeah.
And a rivalry that's been brewing for years.
Couldn't ask for a better setup for the NFC Championship game. It's going to be a classic. I can't wait.
Me neither. But before we get too caught up in all the hype, I think it's important to take a step back.
Okay.
Just acknowledge the history between these two teams.
Right.
I mean, this is a rivalry that goes way back.
Decades.
There's just a different energy when these two teams meet.
It's palpable. You can feel it in the stands, too.
Yeah.
The fans are going to be absolutely wild for this one. Lincoln Financial Field is going to be rocking. It's going to be electric. It's going to be crazy. And, home field advantage in the playoffs. Huge factor. Especially in a game like this. Emotions are running high.
For sure. And the Eagles have been so tough to beat at home this season.
Yeah.
Only that one loss at the Link. But the Commanders, they've shown they can win on the road.
That's true.
I mean, they beat the Buccaneers in Tampa in the wild card round, and then that crazy win against the Lions last week.
Yeah, they haven't been intimidated by playing on the road so far.
I think it's that us against the world mentality. You see it a lot in the playoffs, especially with a young, talented quarterback like Daniels leading the way. Mm-hmm. You just can't count them out. Doesn't matter where they're playing.
But on the flip side, the Eagles, they've been here before.
That's true.
They won the Super Bowl just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And that experience, it's invaluable in a game like this.
You can't underestimate that. They know what it takes to stay calm under pressure, execute in the big moments, and handle that mental side of the game.
Right. And it's not just the coaches either.
Yeah.
You got to look at the veteran leadership on both sides. Guys like Zach Ertz for the Commanders.
Yeah.
Lane Johnson for the Eagles. Their presence on the field, keeping everyone calm, making smart decisions, that can make all the difference in a tight game.
Absolutely. Those veteran voices, they can be so important, especially when the pressure is on. It's those little things, the intangibles that separate the contenders from the pretenders.
Couldn't agree more.
And it feels like both of these teams, they have those qualities in spades.
Yeah, they do.
Well-coached, disciplined, hungry for a championship. This game is going to come down to who wants it more. Who's going to fight for every inch? Who's going to leave it all out on the field?
Well said. This is going to be a war of attrition, a battle of wills.
I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Me neither. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think we're both in agreement here. No matter who wins, they're going to be a tough out in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
This is the NFC Championship.
Yep.
The two best teams in the conference, battling it out for a shot at the Lombardi Trophy.
The winner of this game is going to be a serious contender for the title.
No doubt about it. And that brings us back to the question we posed earlier. The question that's been on everyone's mind since the playoff brackets were set. Who is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl?
That is the question. It all comes down to Sunday afternoon at Lincoln Financial Field. So, prediction time. What's your gut feeling?
Tough one, but I think I got to stick with the Eagles.
Yeah.
The experience, home field advantage, their knack for creating turnovers, I think those factors are going to be the difference. They've been through a lot this season. They're battle-tested, and they're hungry for another Super Bowl run.
I respect that pick. They've looked like the more complete team all year for sure, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Commanders.
Oh, interesting.
I just can't get over how resilient they've been.
Yeah.
They just find ways to win, especially in the playoffs. They're playing with a lot